Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. It's Friday night, and I'm sorry about the late time, but it's never
Exactly.
too late for clobbering. So it's clobbering time until my schedule allows.
I
We'll
already fell asleep once this evening, so
oh
you
yeah.
might be awake here.
At work, I take a nap at lunch.
Oh
So
yeah. Well, today was since we gotta wait for people to come in. I literally waited for delivery from FedEx ground till 3 o'clock. It was very important that I wait too for the deployment team that's going to upgrade this place down in Charlotte here, fancy part of Charlotte. And boy, that's going to be a difficult job for them. That's an old place.
oh yeah,
Yeah, it's old. I did the pictures. I did the site survey. We do surveys, and I have to take pictures of everything. And I just like one of those older places that I used to work in for AT&T. Like I don't work with dangerous electricity, but I do knew about running wire and how that's going to go, and it might be difficult for them.
yeah. Lord Raptor Jesus is streaming right now. Yeah. So, but I got obligations. I don't mean to stream.
Well, I don't think we
anybody.
cross over with Lord Rapture Jesus too much. I mean, we have a couple of people.
I don't mean to step on anybody's toes. I mean, watch one or the other later. Watch Lord Raptor Jesus now. Don't bother me. Frank Robbins was top tier. He began writing for DC Comics in 1968, taking over as the writer of Detective Comics, starting with 378. It's amazing to think that Detective Comics was up to 378. In 57 years ago.
Well, since it's like as old as my dad, yeah.
Right. Like when my sister's ex-husband's father died, they gave me a box of comics. This guy the basement of his house was just filled. He was the kind of guy like who bought everything, and it's gonna be worth money someday. It's gonna be worth money. And he had like 40 years worth of like cool, like he had like Jaws promo posters and stuff like that. And they were like, just give the comics to John. So they gave me.
Aren't you lucky?
Yeah, and one of them was Mad Magazine #2 and #3. Mad Comics. And one of them was Batman cool. 250. And I was like, oh, cool, Batman 250. And I didn't realize how old Batman 250 was. You know what I mean? You see,
yeah, it's really old. Like that stuff, you realize, like I have a Pinterest and I save all the comic art and I save all the covers. And you don't realize how old some of this stuff. You just realize how far it goes back and how long it was ago. You're thinking like John Byrne was a new guy and you realize that's 50 years ago or something.
Yeah.
It's really crazy.
It's amazing, and that's one of the things that just bothers me, that the numbering is gone.
Yes, it bothers me too. The numbering is gone. It's terrible, and the ironic thing is like when they used to do, let's say, Flash, for the new like Flash in the Silver Age. Starts at 102 because they just continued the numbering from the Golden Age.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Even give them a number one.
I didn't even.
There was no Captain America #1 for years. It was Captain America #100.
Right, I do that.
The Iron Man got a #1, and Submariner got a #1.
Yeah,
but not Captain America and Hulk and Thor never got #1s until the modern times.
I remember a guy argue with me that he had Thor #1 from the 60s. I was like, oh,
that's impossible.
Yeah, I was like, no, you don't. Because yes, I do. He's like, get mad at me. I was like, you don't have it. He's like, okay, good luck.
Yeah, it's Journey into Mystery 83.
Right. I told you my Journey into Mystery 83 story, right?
I don't remember it. Joe Sinnott inked that, actually.
I bought a copy on eBay, and it's really good shape. This was somewhere around 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it, I read it, did it, bagged it, bought it, put it in my storage unit. Back then, my storage unit was like 25 miles away, and and then like 2006, I'm reading that there was a counterfeit Journey into Mystery #3, and the only way to tell the difference is that the real one has a Comics Code Authority stamp on it. And I'm like, that's why I got it so cheap. I bought the counterfeit. Oh my god! And
that's cool though to have the counterfeit.
That Sunday, I was like, I got to go down to the storage unit and check. I got to go to. So my wife said, like, I woke up like a madman, and I was like, I'm going to the storage. But my wife loved going to the storage unit with me. I'd go and I'd sort comics for a couple of hours, and then we go try out a restaurant, and then go home. So we have a beach chair. So I'd open up the storage unit. I have a radio, a Bluetooth setup. pull out the beach chair. She would sit down, read her book or whatever, listen to music, and I would talk comics. And she said normally it was really relaxing. She goes, but that day you were like just friend. And I went and I pulled it up and I saw the Comics Code Authority. I was like,
and you were like, oh, thank God.
Such a relief. Because they said the counterfeit is worth $70. I'm not saying how much I spent. I spent more than 70, but I got a really good deal.
I think like you would talk about stories of early comics. So my earliest comic for a long time was Spider-Man 5.
Oh yeah, I don't have
And
that.
I don't have it anymore, but because I sold everything. And when we were buying a lot of comics, my wife really didn't understand. She liked Maze Agency and Ms. Tree, these mystery comics, right? I don't know if you got Maze Agency. That's a terrific comic.
Yeah, that started out as a Comico. I learned how to
pronounce
it.
Yes, it was Comico comic. That's right. And so for my birthday one day, she goes in and it's a comic store. I worked in the Heroes World. That's why I met her. And on the walls, of course, there's all the old comics. The guy who was my manager gave her a deal. I ended up with Spider-Man 5 and all these Silver Age books. And she just brought them home, And they weren't the greatest shape, but they were great comics to have, Spider-Man 5. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the best gifts because, that and one year, an original people selling original art opened near us. And she gave me a page of Thor and Hercules by John Buscema and Dick Giordano.
Oh, that's cool.
That was really cool.
So I just want to point out now that Heroic Tales 2 is at the printers.
Yay.
Yeah, they sent me low res scans to, that's the first thing you do. You look at a low res scan. That's for those of you who want to know, well, at least Comics Wellspring. That's the only printer that I've dealt with so far.
Right.
So great customer service, guys.
I've heard only good things about Comics
Wellspring. So good. The customer service is outstanding. So they sent me low res files to look at. And then okay, now I'm getting 3 proofs because I got the A cover, which is the Renzos, the B covers, which I call the Jose Howards, Jose Garcia, Josh Howard, and the C cover, the cosplays. So those are that. The cosplay cover by far is the smallest print. So get them while the getting's good. And then as soon as I get I should get the hard prints, the proofs this week, and then I get so nervous because as soon as you say go, that's it. So I got to sit at this table like undistracted, look through them, reread my comics, make sure everything's good, and then I say yes.
And then when you're sick of your comic, you say this works great, and then gone.
Right, and I asked a couple of artists to hold off just in case there was a problem. I didn't want to pay for any art, but everything's paid for, everything's good. So I told a couple of people, go ahead, all systems go. So we're back full steam ahead. So I'm hoping, next campaign will be Patriarch number 1. We're starting the art for that because Renzo just finished up our side project, and then the script for Heroic Tales 3 is already done, and script for half of 4, 5, and 6 are already done. The art has begun on those, and I did all the research, compiled all my notes for the Santa Claus. So I'm going to try to do the first draft this weekend. First draft, I just write. I just get everything on a page. Just get everything on a page, and then see what you got. Because whatever you plan always changes once you start writing, and then reread it, check it over, see if I can improve on it. And here is the link if anybody wants to join. Tony, Marcus, and myself. And I'll just go down the comments, and then we got people. We'll get. I got my blessing by Zoctan. Keely Chow says hello.
I'll have to know if that is that blessing for me and Tony too. That's all I need.
That's for everybody. Everybody.
All right, then I'm good.
Do you remember that commercial, Marcus? That old New York commercial, the guy who won the lottery?
Yes.
And this is a real story about a New Yorker. He won the lottery, and he showed up to claim his prize live on TV with his wife and his girlfriend. And
I remember that. Yeah. I have a lottery story. You want to know? So I worked for this guy, and he was a carpet layer, and he told me, maybe it's true or not, he won the first lottery, like 1962, right? It wasn't a lot of money. Now you're thinking now it's billions, millions of dollars, but back then it's like $10,000 or something. And he never played again because he was accosted with phone call. He had to change his phone number.
Yeah.
Family members wanted to borrow him money. Investors were calling. He's like, I'll never play the lottery again.
So this guy shows up on TV with his wife and his girlfriend, and everybody thought it was so funny.
I remember that. Yep.
He got endorsement deals. So he was like, and then one of the, I forget what they were selling, but he was like, "Welcome to New York." Like it was like a, "Welcome to New York." It's a great adventure. I love New York. That was the. And he's there at a hot dog stand with his wife and his girlfriend, and he's getting a hot dog, and he tells the guy, "Don't be stingy with the mustard." So So
he wore like a bowler. He was an African American guy. He wore like a bowler.
He dressed like a 70s pimp. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
He was a local celebrity, and he was absolutely broke within 3 years. He was completely
broke. All the lottery winners are broke.
Every time John tells us this, I get jealous. Jealous about what? Don't get jealous of me. Don't get jealous of me. Monte Comic Book Publishers.
Jealous of me. I'm the one to be jealous of. And Tony's in that great. Me and Tony got great weather, so you have to be. It's still pretty warm. So we're
Santa going to punch Arias? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Renzo is making 3 posters. So we're going to make. We already showed the first poster, the Odin on the throne. It says he knows when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. And then I got 2 more posters, to prime the war that I'll just release every once in a while to keep people interested. And one of them is going to be about St. Nicholas punching Arius. It's my favorite St. Nicholas.
I'm drawing a lot of snow, so.
Yes, I remember that one too. Made National Youth. Free great comics. Where's that free? Oh yeah. But I got a box of comics. No more money, more women, more problems. Yep.
He didn't sound like
Cody. You've been quiet. Let us babble.
I'm just remembering. Easy money is money easily lost, in the words of Benjamin Franklin. How's my mic, by the way?
Sounds
okay,
great. Good so far. Sounds good.
Okay, all right.
It's funny because every once in a while when the lottery gets like big, my wife was like, "John, we should buy a lottery ticket."
Yeah, we buy the lottery ticket too when it gets big.
Usually on Friday I buy a scratcher. I come home, I get gas. I buy a scratcher, but I don't scratch it till Monday. So from Friday night. I scratch it Sunday night. So like from Friday night
I would
to
lose
Sunday, I potentially have a winner. But as soon as I scratch it, I have a piece of crap.
I would lose it by then. I have to. I
put it right here. I put it right here, and I daydream. But every once in a while, I buy like the Mega Millions and stuff. And my wife and I have it rehearsed. If she wins, we don't say nothing until we come home, and then. On the lottery, the first thing we do is we take the next day off. We go down to the courts and we legally change our names, and we don't tell anybody. We just go back to work. You know what I mean? And then when in the newspaper says Myra and Bernie Lipschitz won the lottery, we're like, oh, okay, And then we, and we say we work until we get the money because anything can happen.
If my wife wins the lottery, I'm getting served divorce papers.
Microphones are good.
Yeah, that's it. I have enough money. I can go out on my own.
It's funny that you said that. I was having a conversation at work today, matter of fact, that there's nobody that I work with listening to this. But over the years, I've been working with a bunch of partners. For those of you who don't know, if this is your first time, welcome. But I'm a construction worker. I'm married now 20 years. And I work with a lot of guys that have never been married. They're single, never been married, and they're all the same guy. They're chasing tail. They're on Tinder. They drive every weekend. They're driving like to Virginia or whatever to meet up with some girl. Yeah. They're all broke. And then sooner or later, they all say the same thing. Oh, it must be nice to like come home, have somebody, They all say the same thing. And like when I got married when I was 38, and I got to say, I was on that track. You know what I mean? Like it's I don't know, they're like 50 years old and they're just, you don't want to shake their hands. You know what I mean? Like they're all the same. I don't know. They're all broke. They just got.
With your job, they shouldn't be broke. Jesus.
Yeah, well,
there's a reason why I'm broke.
But they all say the same thing, though. It's like, oh, I'll just make more money next week. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you got to.
Yeah, it's just like that type of living.
Yeah. You're not going to let your lottery winning wife get a boyfriend?
In the phone company, which I'm not in anymore, but the old school phone company, guys used to work so much overtime. The joke was you're always on your second wife because the first one you were never home because you made so much money in overtime. You just kept working. You work Saturdays and Sundays, and it's New York, so double time on Saturdays, double time on Sundays, 2-3 hours every night, and the first wife would get worn out.
Yep. That's the.
I miss the phone company, man. I'd rather have that job than any job I've had, like the regular old phone company. Climb the pole, install your phone.
My father worked for AT&T.
It was AT&T when he was there, yeah.
He liked New York Tel. He liked Ma Bell. And then when it broke
up.
Yeah,
it was New York Tel. I ended up to be 9X when I was there, but my check said New York Telephone for a long time.
All right. So we got enough people, and we're yammering. So tonight, it's clobbering time. We thought we'd just do like best runs.
I was thinking about that a little bit. I have some of that.
Since I put Batman in the thumbnail, for when I say best runs, like Oscar was asking me, does Outsiders count as Batman? No, Outsiders counts as Outsiders. You know what I mean? Like,
that could still be a good run, though.
Yeah, this could be the best runs in the Outsiders. So if you want to talk about the Outsiders, you got a great run. By all means, bring it up. So like Batman's a tough one because. Geez, it's what the second longest running comic book of all time, next to Superman.
Well, that is Batman's hard because we've all not read all. I mean, maybe you've read all of them. It's hard to read them all back then. So, boy, that was a great run in 1953. But they didn't have runs back then. They were all individual comics and not even full stories until the late 60s. Marvel did the full stories before DC. So I would think a Batman runs wouldn't start until like Carmine Infantino started drawing.
So Tony, do you have a Batman run that is your favorite?
I have two, and I have to mention the first one. The first one is the one that's criminally overlooked. The original Bill Finger run, Bob Kane, Bill Finger, Jerry Robinson run of Batman, which was roughly about 187 issues thereabouts, and that set the foundation for everything. That was the Joker, the Catwoman, the Penguin, Two-Face, the Riddler, Mad Hatter, all that stuff. Alfred Pennyworth, the Batmobile, the Bat Signal, the lot. So without that, you can't really build on without that kind of solid foundation, the other runs wouldn't exist, obviously. But my two favorite runs, though, is the Steve Englehart and Marshall Rogers run in the mid to late 70s, and the Doug Mensch run, which transitioned into the Alan Grant, John Wagner run of Detective Comics, which I think is the best Batman run. That one had Norm Brayfogle. May rest in peace.
Right, I read that run.
And from that run, you got stuff like Cornelius Stirk, the cannibal with the powers to make people hallucinate. You had Anarchy. You had Mr. Zaz. You had the ventriloquist, which
I remember.
Big breakout character out of that bunch. That's my high point for Batman. Now, I didn't read much Batman in the 90s because I didn't like the Nightfall run. I didn't like that kind of stuff. I didn't like No Man's Land. I did, however, read the really well-written Batman the Animated Series Batman tie-ins. I forgot who wrote those, but those were good. But I sort of stayed away from main continuity Batman, mainly because I just didn't like the direction it was going. And there you go. Sorry about being so long-winded.
No. Talk all you want. I like that. I like your insights. You seem to know the older stuff better than myself.
You stole my Marshall Rogers run.
No.
Such a great run.
We were all going to say it.
Yeah, the Joker fish. He brought back Hugo Strange. He was the one that basically redesigned Deadshot. Silver. What was her name?
Silver St. Cloud.
Silver St. Cloud. I mean, it's such a great
Silver St. Cloud figured out Bruce Wayne was Batman, as a girlfriend probably would.
Yeah.
Just by being his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And that run is really the impetus of Bat. They keep giving it to Frank Miller and stuff, but it's Englehart and Rogers and Austin and Simonson too that did that run that really That's the Batman '89 movie. In fact, Vicky Vale was supposed to be Silver St. Cloud,
Yeah,
but they
I heard
changed
that.
it to Vicky Vale so they wouldn't have to pay Englehart and Rogers any money.
How
And then
cool.
Englehart
Criminally
had
underrated
to
run.
money anyway.
Criminally underrated run. Nobody
Well, it
seems to
wasn't that
remember.
long. It wasn't that
Yeah.
long, and Batman went back into mediocrity. You know,
Mm.
right after that with John Callahan, just not exciting. There's a lot of the '70s.
But Mensch was good. Remember, Mensch came around 82, 81.
Yeah, with Gene Colan. When Gene
Yeah.
Colan got fired from Marvel, they put him on Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Gene Colan and Don Newton.
But my favorite when I was a little boy, that's how I discovered him, was the Alan Grant, John Wagner run. That was such a great run, man. I would love for DC to do an omnibus.
That's
of
like
that
forgotten because it's
They
right
did a
before all
collection.
the Nightfall. It's night before Chuck and Doug Mensch and Alan Grant, Kelly Jones, and all that big long '90s run that they were doing all the crossovers.
They did a 5-issue series called Shadow of the Bat.
Yeah,
That was a collection of that. That's how I first found about it. And then later on, they made an ongoing series called Shadow of the Batman. But they took all the Marshall Rogers stuff and made like 5 issues. And then at the same time, they made a Walt Simonson Manhunter run. And they
I love the Manhunter run.
these Batmans were double-sided with Manhunter. You know,
when I was really young,
double.
I didn't really differentiate between Marvel and DC. I just get comics. So I would get 75, 74, 75, 76. I used to get Batman and Superman, Superman 300. And I would get the 100-page super spectaculars, and they would have Manhunter in the back. And some, like, it'd be all, but I bought somebody's collection, and this guy had all the Marshall Rogers books. So I got to revisit it when I was older.
They're surprisingly affordable because I bought the very first Marshall Rogers one because it's Marshall Rogers. For those of you who don't know, Marshall Rogers is the artist, and Terry Austin's the inker. So it's got that like Neil Adams, Dave Cockrum, John Byrne X-Men kind of look to the art. It's and I just love that kind of art for comics.
But in the issues right before then, Rogers did and Englehart did backups of like Green Hour and Hawkman, and they were fighting the same villains that Batman ended up fighting. And it really starts with Simonson. Simonson, I think, was possibly supposed to do the book, and Martin couldn't do it. And of course, he's inked badly because it's they didn't really know what to do with him.
Yeah, the backup.
And and if you want to really talk about another run of Marshall Rogers, is a Marshall Rogers turned Doctor Strange.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Marshall Rogers had a couple. I don't think he's ever done better work than those two series.
But if you're interested in this run, you could pick up. I think it's like 1983, Shadow of the Bat. It's like a
Shadow of the Bat. I think you're
like
right.
a 5-issue series, or you could get the original ones. They're not that expensive. They're like $5-6 an issue, which is the price of a normal comic these days. So there you go. But
Yeah, that's
really, that's a good call, Tony. That's a really good Batman run. I like that weird. My favorite Batman run is that weird little right after Crisis. Alan Davis did Batman.
No, I love that run.
And
Mike W. Barr.
That's
Great
an
Mike W. Barr wrote it.
Yeah,
Alan
that's a
Davis
great
wrote it.
run.
And like it doesn't fit anywhere. It's just
That's
bizarre.
one of the best drawn Robins I've ever seen. Alan Davis.
Yeah.
That's a terrific run. Catwoman.
And no disrespect, because like a year or two later, Chuck Dixon came on, stuff like that. But I don't think Chuck Dixon's such a fanboy. I don't think he would get mad. I don't think that is one of my favorite Batman runs.
That had like the 70s Batman with the 60s like fun. They put Catwoman back in her purple costume with the whip.
Right. And it was like a long evening gown.
And he had a thing for Catwoman and Joker. I was just looking at this the other day because I look at Alan Davis artwork a lot. And he and Joker like turned Catwoman against Batman. He was beating the crap out of Joker, and Robin had to stop him. And then okay, chum, and he would use the word chum, and you didn't mind. Batman, a little smile here or there.
Right, they're jumping through a warehouse window, glass everywhere.
Yeah, this is after year
and they're
one.
both smiling as they're coming down. Batman's got the wings,
Yeah. Yeah, and
I
he
don't know
had
about
this
you,
like
but a guy in a bat costume jumping through a window smiling is probably scary.
he had that cross between his own style and kind of like Jim Aparo and Neil Adamsy, like kind of sort of. He made that like blue costume with the yellow oval work so well and still be as scary as any black costume of armor that anybody could figure out. And then Alan Davis left and Todd McFarlane took over Batman Year 2. And it was kind of like, oh, not that Todd did a bad job, but that whole thing, that feeling was all over. It was all over. It's fine. The other fine comic, but that X special feeling was over. And that's happened to Alan Davis a couple of times.
Right. Speaking of Batman Year 2, I didn't like it at the time because it followed up Batman Year 1, which is probably my second favorite. It maybe
That's
I
great
don't know.
comic.
It's only 4 issues, but 4 issues is a run because let's define our terms. Marcus, how would you define a run?
Well, I would think a run's like at least 6 months to a year. But when you're doing a Batman Year 1, you have to take an exception to that because there was so much in that book. But you could call them short runs. Like it meant to be a run, it got stopped. Like Alan Davis and Mike Barr doing Batman. I think it. But
Tony,
it can't
how
be a
would you
fill-in
define a
issue.
run?
It's hard to have Marvel team up to have a run. Say
Right. Well, it could.
There are runs in there, but it's not as many.
Tony, how would you define a run?
Exactly how Marcus did it. 6 months to a year. You need a chunk. You need a chunk of stories there.
Now there's no runs anymore because they don't.
I would define a run as the same creative team.
Okay.
I would think it's at least the same. It's the same creative team. If there's a fill in there here or there, if the same writer,
right? A fill in there here and there is yeah. But like the Chuck Dixon run of Batman, Chuck Dixon, Grant.
It's not all Graham, but it's
Nolan.
mostly Graham Nolan. Yeah,
right. So it's Chuck Dixon, Graham Nolan run. The John Byrne Fantastic Four run.
Oh, that's a run. That's 5 years. I mean,
the Jack Kirby, Stan Lee run on Fantastic Four. That to me, that's a run.
That's 100 issues.
But also a run.
Be the greatest run.
It could be like Steve Englehart did the Defenders, and there was a couple of different artists, but that's the Steve Englehart run, or my Steve Gerber run. I'm getting the names mixed up. But like that's how like Marvel Team Up could have a run because Chris Claremont did
Chris Claremont and John Byrne did at least 5 or 6 issues in a row.
Right. So that's how we define a run. So we'll get back to that. So the Frank Miller Dave Macchiuselli is a 4-issue run.
I think, it's surprisingly they didn't put it in a miniseries, which I appreciated, that it was within the series. I didn't, and the backstory is that Gene Colan was really pissed because he was fired off of Batman for that. And he was really mad. He was like,
it was so grounded and it was so realistic. And then they followed it up with the Batman Year 2, which was like very Silver Agey too, and it was just jarring.
You can't do the same. No, who's David Mazzucchelli? I mean, we all could try to be like him, and it's not going to work.
No other artist, maybe him and Steranko, got such a legend, so renowned with so few comics.
Oh yeah, well yeah, he did a lot of Daredevil, more than you think,
right?
Because he did it with Denny O'Neil for so long.
Yeah, I mean, geez. But so those two, the Frank Miller, Dave Macchiuselli 4-issue run, and the Mike W. Barr,
they're so influential,
and Alan Davis run. Those are my favorite Batman runs.
If you want to talk about another Alan Davis, and this is not Batman, but do you remember when Heroes Return came and he did those 3 issues of Fantastic Four, and you just wanted more of them, and he just did 3 issues.
Yeah. It didn't, and he drew Ben Grimm turned normal, and he drew him with 4 fingers.
Yeah, he did. That was funny.
That was, and I don't even think they explained it. He just drew him with 4 fingers. It was just really.
But that's
weird.
not a run. But though afterwards, Chris Claremont and Sal LaRocca had a long, maybe too long a run on that Fantastic Four.
Yeah, the art was outstanding, but it
was weird, right?
Yeah, it was inconsistent. It was.
Well, he set that up for all the crap that they do now by introducing all those women characters. Like, there's this woman character used to be Reed's girlfriend, and then she's like Indiana Jones, and then there's all of a sudden Valeria comes up. I still don't remember how she showed up.
Speaking of which, I'm still struggling through the Dan Slott run.
I bet you are.
I praised up until issue 14.
You can write. I went
literally issue 15 or issue 14 is the DEI bomb hit. This issue is this villain, the Overseer, created the Fantastic Four, so the origin has changed. You know, he weaponized the cosmic energy, the cosmic rays. He tried to kill the Fantastic Four because he prophesied that they were going to land on his planet and destroy basically his reign. And that's what happens here. And now the shielding was good enough, so Ben Grimm's not mad at Reed anymore because Reed,
I just saw a panel. Like, I have so much random. I see this stuff so randomly, and there's just that one panel, the Fantastic Four, where early on, where the Thing turns back into Ben, and he's all happy. And then he turns back to the Thing, and you could just see the anger that Jack Kirby drew off of him. Like, he's still, like, really rough.
The Court Owls is around when I stopped reading Batman. That was pretty good. I
read that.
I was excited for that. Plus the Court of Owls, it ticked off like a conspiracy. I love the fact that there was like this mysterious 13th floor on this building that nobody knew about. They met in secret. They wore these creepy owl masks. And they had this guy, the Talon, who was their enforcer, and nobody knew who they were. I loved all of that. And then the New 52 happened, and I was like,
and the Court of Owls really secretly ran Gotham since like 1886 or something.
I love all of that. That was so much fun.
And the art was really good. It was good. I like that. I took it out of the library. I used to take paperbacks and hardcovers out of the library back then, before there was like pirate sites and stuff.
That was a fun run. So I already mentioned Fantastic. So we did Batman. Let's do Superman. Tony, I know you have an interesting run on Superman. That's got to be your favorite.
Favorite run. That one's. I gotta say, I liked the Otto Binder run from the 50s and the 60s. I just like. I'm probably in the minority here, but I like whimsical Superman. I like the dog, the Bizarros, the Supergirl. I like all of that. That's my Superman. That's what I like. I tried getting into John Byrne was writing it when I was a kid, right? When I was really, really small. My mom would buy me comics. Comics helped me read, like with you, John.
Yeah, same story.
And I remember my mom bought me an issue of the Adventures of Superman. I think it had the cover was a Skyhook, this villain that he made, which is a Grim Reaper thing. And I remember I brought it home. She bought it home from me. I read it, loved the art, but I remember reading it and I'm going, "What the hell is this?" And I go to my mom. I'm like, "Mom, what's a lesbian?" And my mom was like, "Where'd you hear that?" And I said, "From here." And she took it away from me. She read it. And it was the backstory to Maggie Sawyer. And I remember after my mom read that, she never bought me another issue of Superman ever.
Yeah, that probably should have been. He did Bird. Yeah, he did a couple of things in Superman.
The big barter story was.
Oh my God! They're still talking about.
Yeah. He was a beautiful art. I'm not taking it away from him, but he was the wrong guy to jumpstart that. He needed a writer. They needed to.
It's funny. That Superman run, I mean, that John Byrne Superman, that was the first time I collected Superman. I've always loved Superman. I have billions of Superman comics from before that, but nothing really in order. And that Superman was my Superman. But I liked the Marv Wolfman, Jerry Ordway Adventures of Superman even better. That at the same time, because to me, that was traditional Superman. With like a modern...
those runs together begat the Triangle series. That ended with the death of Superman, and all the great artists and writers that Dan Jurgens and Louis Simonson and Roger Stern and John Byrne, and for like 3 or 4 years, Superman was the comic to buy at DC. I felt like
I agree. Yeah,
I didn't buy Justice League. I didn't really like Howard Porter's work, and Grant Morrison is like a little impenetrable to me. So it was Superman more than Batman. Batman was like Batman Adventures. Like ended up to be the real Superman. And Byrne was on in 2.5 years, but he wrote 3 of the comics, so he was out of ideas by that time anyway. But that's what got a lot of people to buy Superman after Crisis. I think the next one after that, I think, is the Denny O'Neil, Kurt Swan, Murphy Anderson, when they really became a team and they depowered him for the first time.
Kryptonite No More. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. But with Superman, the runs until like Man of Steel are so small because it goes right back into individual issues. Like, what's a real run? There's that short run where he kind of was depowered and Clark Kent really goes after Lois Lane. Like, it was like, I don't know if that was in the mid-'70s with Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. And it would be like this bright spot of about 5 issues. And it's back to, here's Superman's adventure. Here's the adventure of Clark Kent in the back, which are good comics, but not like an over-arc run, because Superman is Superman. There's a lot of corporate stuff involved, so they can't really do a whole lot with him.
I have to say my favorite run of the character, thinking back on it now, isn't even a comic book run. It's the Superman the Animated Series run.
Oh, I love that run.
They took everything
I
in
all those. Me and Tony are like this.
Yeah, the Silver Age stuff. The Phantom Zone, Supergirl, the Parasite, all of that, and they distilled it into this perfect thing. I love that. That's actually how I like to. I rewatch those all the time. Superman.
My wife bought me the Batman animated series and the Superman animated series. I got to get the Justice League one, but I agree that Batman animated series is probably my favorite Batman.
Mm-hmm.
It's the perfect blend.
It's my favorite
version of Batman, and same with that. But I agree with Tony. I'm agreeing a lot with Tony. I love the John Byrne lower powered Superman, more realistic. But nowadays, I am loving the Fortress of Solitude and Crypto and Superman flying to other planets. All the whimsical.
Superman is the best Superman.
When I was a kid, I was going back to getting the super spectaculars, because I had a friend who was in DC Comics, and I loved Superman Red and Superman Blue when he split into 2, and they had all those imaginary stories and all. And in the city of Kandor, and they would go down and be like a Batman and Robin. Like, all those stories are great and fun, and really underscore basically we're doing independent comics, and you just can't do comics like that. There's just there just have to be all this stuff in your face like this, and really intense grr and werewolves and big boobs and stuff.
The Jim Shooter run on
he was 13.
Superboy was great. The superheroes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we did Batman, we did Superman. Does anybody have a Wonder Woman run? Anybody in the chat?
George Perez.
I will say I obviously I've missed the Golden Age Superman, but Superman DC maybe about 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I forget exactly. They made these real cheap newsprint. They were called
I remember those.
They had Superman Chronicles, Batman Chronicles, Wonder Woman, Flash, and Green Lantern Chronicles. And they were just chronological stories of, it didn't matter what issue it was. If Superman was in it, it just chronologically put them in. And I bought all of them. And I think I'm about halfway done with all of them. I didn't read them all yet. And so now I'm reading these Golden Age Wonder Woman for the first time. I think the Golden Age Wonder Woman, the original, what's his name, Marston, and I can't remember the artist's name.
H.G. Peters.
What's his name?
H.G. Peters.
H.G. I'm really, really liking them. As hokey and as weird as they are, there's something charming about them.
We had a lot of those around. My mom had, because of Ms. Magazine, they had around a hardcover of Wonder Woman comics. There was an old 70s hardcover that was published. And then I got a lot of the Treasury editions. So I read a lot of those when I was a kid. And oddly enough, Marston, they lived in a town next to me in West. We didn't even know,
oh, really?
And he had a throuple, that all was very strange, all that bondage stuff. And he created a lie detector, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a really strange guy. And the legend of Wonder Woman is that DC Comics has to publish a Wonder Woman comic, no matter how much it sells, every month. And if they don't do it, all the rights go back to Marston Estate.
That's true.
That's why when Crisis ended, there was a Trina Robbins 4-issue once before George Perez started on with his Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But I think George Perez has the Wonder Woman run that I guess there's someone. I guess Gail Simone and Aaron Lopresti had a pretty good run.
Yes, they did. They had a very good
Except
run.
that I read that recently, like in the last couple of years, and I felt like Gail, and I'm picking on Gail at all. It was good comic, but Wonder Woman had the crap beaten out of her. Like she really got beat up in that run. She didn't win too much, that's for sure. But that was a pretty good run.
I just turned off my phone.
And I didn't read them for the ones in the '60s. I know it was more like a superhero romance book with Steve Trevor, but I couldn't.
There's a Wonder Woman movie that has, it's about Marston, and I just watched it on
Dr. Marston and the Three Something. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
It's a Wonder Woman movie. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not as lurid as you would think. I think there's like one nude scene. Like you think, given the topic. But I watched the whole movie, and I just said he was a selfish manipulator.
Yeah, he was. And when he died, that throuple became a full-blown lesbian relationship. That's right.
I remember. I heard that too.
You watch the whole thing. He was a college professor with access to these young, naive women.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the older I get, like I'm talking about these guys they're good guys, by the way. If you watch it, I love you guys. But like it's all the same thing. It's just like it's like an addiction. I got to go meet the new younger, hotter girl. I got to go meet the new younger, hotter girl. And like the guy showed me on his phone, like this is the girl he's gonna go meet. Showed me her naked pictures. I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to go to work, and he's showing me this, and then it's like,
yeah, I had a friend.
And I just go, oh man, she's covered in tattoos. She's gross. He goes, well, I'm not gonna marry her. And it's just like,
no, I had a friend like that. Yeah.
But anyway, back to Marston. I just got that same vibe. It's just like
he was a degenerate.
He was a degenerate who used academia to pretend that it was something else.
But what I didn't like about him was, like most members of the intelligentsia, the collegiate learned ones that are usually left-leaning, really, really far to the left. He tries to get children involved in stuff, and that's what Wonder Woman was, hey kids, bondage is fun, getting spanked. Yeah,
it's always been like
that's they were fun, but they were just
all the stuff happened, but it's just times 100 now,
Yeah, you Wonder, and she's always getting.
Yeah, that was pretty.
It's
bad.
Bizarre. It's really
she
bizarre.
Was really powerful in the Golden Age. They depowered her. At the Silver Age, it's funny. A woman in the 40s, like a superhero. We talked about this a little bit when we talked about femme fatales. How forward women in the 30s and 40s that were, and how the superhero women all had attitude and they did stuff. And then by the 50s and 60s, they're back to being like the secretaries of the Justice League and stuff. Did almost nothing. And they had to go back up again.
Robert Kanigher's 20-year run on her, he sort of did Marston-style stories, but without all the degeneracy. I have like the Wonder Woman in the 50s, like a trade paperback that DC released a while back. And it's just like, they're just stories where she's just doing Silver Age Wonder Woman stuff.
And the artwork is so found the name of the movie, Dr. Marston and the Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I couldn't tell you what they're doing with Wonder Woman now. They made her half a lesbian, and so I couldn't, because of course that's the subtext from the beginning, but DC really didn't play into it.
According to the Marston run, the Amazons of Themyscira were followers of who was the god, John? The Athena, right? Was it Athena? I'm trying to remember. They were celibate. They were celibate, so they didn't really. There wasn't much of that there. But she always found a way to get tied up, and spanked.
Kind of like immortals too, right? They didn't really procreate. Wonder Woman was made of clay,
right? yeah, they were immortal demigoddesses, or
They didn't really say that, but
She's a
yeah, you're right.
lesbian.
Yeah.
I don't know.
but as woke as this sounds, I'm out of all of the female superheroes to be bisexual, right? To me, Wonder Woman is the one that's a natural fit.
Well, yeah,
Like
yeah.
not Hellcat, not Felicia Hardy, not Catwoman. Wonder Woman, she grew up on an island of women. I could see, I'm not going to describe what I can see, but I that one is the easiest sell, and whatever. But
I guess
the
the
less
one,
I get into that, the better. But I will say, is how bizarre is it that the younger girl in the throuple is the niece of Margaret? What's her name?
Margaret Sanger, the founder
right, Margaret
of
Sanger.
Planned Parenthood.
Oh my God! Yeah, it all comes together, right?
Mhm.
The abortionist,
the eugenicist, the famed.
well, yeah, she wanted to kill. That's why she did that. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
yeah,
that
really
she
evil
wanted to
and
kill
smart.
kids of a certain race.
She said a certain
yeah,
race
we're not saying which one right now.
needs to be exterminated like weeds, and she was Hillary Clinton's mentor.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Yeah,
But
anyway,
I guess the one run of Wonder Woman everyone knows is George Perez.
Right, the George
That's the most famous one.
he really took her out and leaned her into the Greek and Roman Greek gods with the Hercules and Burns' run wasn't bad either.
Burns' run wasn't bad, but as much as I love Byrne, he had the Roy Thomas trouble, which is trying to correct continuity.
He started doing that in a lot of books. Yeah, he really did do that.
Although Byrne did do one of my favorite gags in all of comic books. So they were telling a story of the John Byrne run. Hippolyta went back in time and became the original Golden Age Wonder Woman. So now I know just to hurt.
That was just too confusing for
now
words.
she was the Wonder Woman that was in the Justice Society. So now they're telling the story of the Justice Society, and they all got captured by a supervillain. And the supervillain says, like, send one of you out here so we can negotiate. So they all, who the hell do they send out Hawkman? No, he asks for Hawkman. And why Hawkman? Because he's the weakest. So they send out Hawkman, and then Hawkman turns out to be like Superman or something like that. They just swapped costumes, and they were goofing on the fact that they were all drawn the same in the 40s. So they all swapped their costumes. You know what I mean? So they just had it wasn't Superman. He didn't have a mask on. I think he was Green Lantern. So like he pulled his ring out and did stuff. But it was just funny to think that
that's kind of true.
We're going to acknowledge the fact that they kind of used the same bodies, and with the masks, it didn't matter who was who. I thought that was funny. But can we all agree that the George Perez Wonder Woman was?
That's probably. I agree. Yeah.
All right. So, are there any other DC runs before we move? I got to say, I'm not that familiar with Pre-Crisis Flash or Hawkman or.
Okay, the Pre-Crisis Flash, John Broome, Carmine Infantino.
Oh yeah, that.
I would say that is the best superhero book that DC ever put out in the 60s. Really? In the 60s, it was the best.
Yeah, I think Green Lantern was a little sillier than Flash.
Yes.
I got a lot of early Green Lanterns, and not only was like Gil Kane not exciting at that point and was tamped down by the inking and by DC Comics because they wanted to draw everything like Dan Barry's Flash Gordon. I think Flash is the more inventive, that fake science, that super science.
And I will say that his rogues gallery matches Spider-Man's. I will say that.
Nobody was a killer. Like it was.
Do we do that one? That's a good. It's clobbering time. Who has the best rogues gallery?
That'd be cool. Would be really cool.
That's pretty good.
I'll be quiet about that. I'm gonna look.
And if another couple of runs, I'll throw in the Robert Kanigher War comics, all of them. GI Combat, Our Army at War, Star-Spangled War Stories. Robert Kanigher wrote so much good war, the perfect war comics, the best war comics. I'll also say another good run.
Well, let me just say something before you move on to that. I never read those war comics because I didn't, for me, comic books were superheroes. And TV and movies did war perfect. Like you didn't need special effects. You just need to have a realistic tank, a uniform, and a good actor. You could do that on a Hollywood low budget or whatever. But superheroes, until recently, were difficult to do in a motion picture on TV. So if I wanted superheroes, comic books to me were the only way to get good superheroes. But war could be replicated on TV. So I watched war. So I avoided Westerns and war and stuff because TV did it better. But Chuck Dixon, I listened to his show every Wednesday, and he keeps saying that the DC war and Western comics of the 70s are some of the best comics ever made. So every once in a while, when I find it cheap in a back issue bin, he's right. And
I used to like Haunted Tank when I was a kid. I remember that, but because I study all the comics and all the artists and Joe Kubert and Russ Heath and all that, I do looked at all those things, and it is amazingly consistent from the 50s to the 60s. And all the superhero artists used to do war comics. Ross Andrew and Joe Kubert and they all, Gene Colan, they all did war. They all did Westerns before they did superheroes.
And I think they liked war and Westerns more than superheroes.
Some of them, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like Don Heck was a natural for all that stuff.
Because I think it was Don Heck. Was it? Because Don Heck is not my favorite artist. I feel bad every time I say that.
You could say that.
But he did a war comic in this revival of Savage Tales that is so good. It rivals the old Warren magazine stuff. He must have just loved doing it.
He did a Navy thing with Marvel or Atlas, and it was like 5 or 6 pages and it was just terrific. What terrific, right? And then early Iron Man, he was good because he really could go to he really liked Tony, Anthony Stark, and Pepper and all that stuff. But as it got long, he just it didn't work out for him. But
one of the advantages of those comics is you could buy any one and enjoy it because most of those war and westerns are just one shots.
They're all one shots. They're they're all one shots. That's right.
The original John Albano, Tony DeZuniga, Jonah Hex run is perfect.
Well, you've been reading that, John.
Western
I'm reading that for the first time. I started at Jonah Hex #1. I didn't realize he debuted in an all-star Western. So I went on eBay and for like $6 I got like a near mint all-star Western #1. So I guess I collect all-star Western now.
What comic was All-Star Western before it was All-Star Western?
It was All-Star War, right? Or
it was All-Star it was All-Star Comics with the Justice Society.
Yeah.
And it changed to All-Star Western. They just kept the numbering and changed it to Western. Superheroes out, Westerns are in. Here we go.
And the Peter David run on Aquaman. A lot of people forget about
I read it. I read old Peter David stuff.
Yeah, I love that run. That's modern Aquaman.
That's when he got his hand cut off, right?
Yeah,
that was a regret, but yes. Well, he gave Aquaman a personality.
That speaking of Aquaman and Submariner, I believe that to do a really, I hate to say true to life because we're talking about people who breathe underwater. But to do like a realistic Aquaman Submariner, that's got to be more alien than an Alien comic book because, like in that Peter David run, he started to address things that always bothered me. Like you go to Atlantis. Marvel goes to Atlantis. They got steps. There's all the stairs are on the bottom. You walk in, there's steps. It's like, why do you don't need all that? You don't need to think in these limited. Like basically everybody flies. Like if everybody underwater, everybody could float. You know what I mean? Everybody could fly. So you have circular doorways up there. You don't need steps and stuff. So he started doing that with Aquaman, and somebody mentioned it. And he goes, "Yeah, we're tired of emulating the surface people. We're going to go back to the way we always were. This culture is changing back to true Atlantis." And I thought that was interesting. Peter David was his Hulk run is legendary. He's a very underrated writer. My favorite Peter David run, since we're talking about runs, is I liked his Captain Marvel run.
Yeah, I liked his Captain. I got that.
It started out a little jokey.
He was good until he got too self-referential.
Right. And then people just
started really
the jokey self-referential stuff is good, but not with the guy who grew up in outer space. He's not going to reference The Simpsons, So he course corrected, and it became such a good run. That was my favorite. Oh, best run on Hawkman. Somebody wants to know. Hawkman's a character I probably
Gardner
The
Fox.
showcase run with Joe Kubert when
Gardner
Gardner
Fox,
Fox and Joe Kubert,
and then later on Murphy
Sherrier
Anderson.
and Carter first came and established themselves. I have that trade paperback. That's really good.
There was also
that is really sharp comic.
the 4-issue Hawk World series by Timothy Truman.
Yeah, well, I read that too.
Okay,
Yeah, that was good. Tim Truman, and then
such good art, and they had those more like glider wings, like they were like almost like sails.
John Ostrander and Graham Nolan did the series. That was good, and I got that series too. But if you're looking like real Hawkman, you're looking at that, either Golden Age or those Silver Age into Murphy Anderson. Well, when Murphy Anderson was just more like the superhero who used like a bow and arrow and flew. He didn't really have the depth of the other characters.
Gardner Fox was so good in the 40s, and in the 60s he was hit or miss. Like I know you, John, you talking about how you didn't really like his JLA run, and I didn't either. I thought the characters were all really bland. I mean, the ideas were good, but the characters were interchangeable almost.
Yeah, the first 20, I think I'm up to like 16 or so of the original.
It was Mike Sikowski, right?
They were written
either.
They were written like as the Super Friends, they were written for dumb children.
But in the 40s, Gardner Fox was amazing, and he was amazing again in Hawkman, and he did a damn good Atom run. I mean, he created the Atom, But people forget, he is a big part of the foundation of DC Comics. He created the Justice Society. He created the Hawkman, the original Flash. He created a lot of that stuff. He's the one that created the Batarang. He created the Bat Copter, I believe. So yeah, I mean, he created a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So I guess we'll move over to Marvel now. I'll probably have more to say. Well, I'll definitely have more to say. For those of you who don't know, I grew up reading Marvel, and I really didn't get into DC until the Crisis on Infinite Earth. Like, I joke around that growing up in my neighborhood, it was like the Sharks and the Jets. We were like, we like Marvel, and they would be like, we like DC. We would dance fight. But my friend Mike, I always used to say, like, when you were a real young kid, you liked Harvey comics. And then when you were like, 6th grade or so, you liked DC. And then you grew up to good comics like Marvel. Like, I was a naughty little kid. But now I'm finding that I still find the original Justice League comics to be a chore. It's the same thing every month. Let's split up. And then, Green Lantern's just going to shoot the ray and solve all the problems. You know what I mean?
They were really too powerful.
But not only that, it's like it made no sense, But then Justice League got really big. Justice League, I think the George Perez around 200 is my favorite Justice League.
Well, Dick Dillon did almost 100 issues, and people love him. I found his work kind of stiff, but he was the guy who could draw all those characters until George Perez, who loved drawing all those characters.
But let's go to Fantastic Four, because that's the first real Marvel comic. Yeah. Now, to me, I'm excited, so I'll just start talking. It's my 3 favorite Fantastic Four runs. I'll throw in my 4th now. My John Byrne run is my favorite. I know my second favorite is the Jack Kirby Stan Lee, and I know that's an abomination to some people, but like it's because I got it monthly and I couldn't wait, and it was exciting. I was 14 years old, 15 years old. It was like the perfect time, And I didn't read the Jack Kirby run at the time. I read that after that, and so the Jack Kirby Stan Lee, 101 issues, 102 issues, I forget. Awesome. My 3rd favorite is the Walt Simonson. And that is super influential. People don't realize Walt Simonson created that TVA, which became like a major part of the MCU. And then I hated this at first, and I struggled through it. But then I reread it before Tom DeFalco came on my channel. But the Tom DeFalco run is so freaking good. Those are my 4
I think that was underrated. I think that to say it's bad, it's hard for Tom DeFalco to write a bad comic.
I was livid. Like every month.
I liked his Thor run too.
And as I'm reading, I'm like, what is so objectionable about? In my memory, they would make it Reed Richards like an effeminate creep, but that didn't happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like they got rid of him, and I think they legit tried to kill Reed Richards for good, and then they had to bring him back. And when they brought him back, he was like ineffectual and everything. And I thought they were just trying to, modernize him, toxic. But what it really was he had PSTD. I always say that wrong. Post-traumatic disorder. And he had to overcome it. When I reread, I was like, wow, how did I hate this? But those are my 4 favorite Fantastic Four runs.
I have to, fantastic. Like when they started drawing the Thing, like we know the Thing, like Kirby with the rocks, and it started a little before Joe Sinnott firmly took over. And there's that great fight between Doctor Doom, and he's Ben Grimm, and Doctor Doom turns and to save the Fantastic Four, Reed has to turn Ben back into the Thing, and there's that great picture of him just super angry, and then he goes after Doom. Like he had so much power just to go after Doom. From then on, like the Fantastic Four at the beginning, what are they going to do with the Fantastic Four? It really didn't hit until about then. And then it's like the best science fiction comic in history. I mean, it's not even a superhero comic.
Yeah,
They're science adventurers,
I'll still say, as great as the first 20 issues of Fantastic Four, they were all over the place. It wasn't, the dough was raw. It wasn't baked into bread yet.
The 25 and 26 when they fought the Hulk was the highlight of the run.
But what was it, number 12 when they went to the moon and introduced the Washer for the first time?
Yeah, well, they introduced all the important stuff. That right.
Was, oh my God. I tracked down, that was one of my missing issues.
And inking on Kirby was so hit or miss of who was doing
that
it.
Issue 12 is one of the best Marvel comics of all time. So good. I'm the Pro B, says the John Byrne Fantastic Four run. Yep.
Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, or Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, whichever order, after had them lose to Doctor Doom, like 58 to 66. I have like the masterworks of that. They lost. What superhero group lost in 1965? Like, how groundbreaking is that?
Well, when you now think we take it for granted, but like, what superhero teams bickered?
None of them. That's the whole thing. Well, that's the Stan Lee part. It's the bickering part, right?
Did the Challengers of the Unknown bicker?
I have to read more of them. They kind of did. I mean, all the Kirby stuff had an attitude, like the Boy Commandos. They like had the little yappy guy, Newsboy Legion type of thing.
What's your favorite run then of Fantastic Four?
I like the Kirby run, but of course I bought the same thing as you bought, the FF. I think that I have this. I agree with you completely, but I think that the runs that get the short shrift because they came after Kirby is Roy Thomas and John Buscema, and then Rich Buckler. Like Rich Buckler doing Kirby, with Kirby swipes. When I was a kid, I loved those because when I'm a little older than you and just enough to buy all the Kirby reprints. When Kirby went to DC, Marvel flooded it. Marvel's Greatest Comics, Marvel Triple Action, and I read. That's why I always loved Kirby and Ditko. I read all those reprints every single day, with just like new comics to me. And so when he started doing that, I go back and I still have a soft spot for it, even though it's all swipes. He basically traced the comics, but I still liked it.
You made me remember the Fantastic Four from 150 to around 200. That was a
I like all of those are my comics from my real youth.
Ledween, George Perez. Oh my God, how can I forget that?
In a lot of ways, I like Marvel George Perez even better than the DC super detailed George Perez. I know that's heresy,
And then the Fantastic Four, like 200 to like 230, right before John Byrne. It was Marv Wolfman and a bunch of other.
Yeah, that was a little. Yeah, they had that weird.
But there's so many good runs.
They had that weird run with Doug Mensch and Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yep.
Right before John Byrne.
So Tony, do you have a Fantastic Four run?
I love the original 101 issues or so of Lee and Kirby. Fantastic Fours. Yeah.
The Fantastic Four are good runs.
What other Avengers? Any of your favorite runs?
Actually, I like the David Michelini run of Spider-Man.
Okay, we'll go right to Spider-Man. Okay,
that was the run that introduced me.
What numbers are we talking about?
I'm talking like from the mid '80s, I guess.
For Spider-Man, for me, right around like 194, where they introduced the Black Cat.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Boy, the Spider-Man. I mean, I bought the comic. I bought the Punisher issue off the newsstands. That all the Spider-Man had a good runs. They had always had decent artwork. They always drew Spider-Man correctly, whether it was Ross Angelo, Keith Pollard, in the 70s and the early 80s. And it was really Spider-Man only got bad right before Todd McFarlane took it over, which is why it helped Todd get so big, because it was just like Al Milgrom and had no direction at all.
I mean, if the Kirby Ditko run was outstanding, and then Stan Lee
Ditko run is the best run.
Yeah,
it's just the best run. Of course, I've been studying Ditko, and now for a while, and Ditko had a way. It doesn't in your face like Kirby, but the way he had the body language, like the beaten Peter Parker, and then later the angry Peter Parker, like they didn't have to be overacting. He just did it really subtle, and that was the one book that Stan Lee and Steve Ditko that started. It was great from the beginning. From the origin to issue 38, it was always good. I mean, and it was good after, but like it didn't have the Hulk got canceled. They didn't know what to do with him. Thor was Superman till they leaned into the mythology. Even Fantastic Four had to find its footing. Spider-Man always had its footing.
Yeah,
always.
Yeah. You're right about that.
And
Spider-Man is the exception. That it almost came out fully formed.
And then the other Ditko run, of course, is Doctor Strange, which is just brilliant. It's just really brilliant. And I know that Stan Lee didn't get along at the end, but my feeling is he liked working with Steve Ditko even more than working with Jack Kirby, because he could do those human stories a little more, like those, like Peter Parker. Like Jack Kirby couldn't really do Peter Parker. So that's just my feeling, but I don't know if that's true.
I got to say, like. The less fantastic Kirby got, the less interesting it got. Like Kirby, you know what I mean? Like, Kirby doing Spider-Man sitting around Aunt May's table.
No, that wouldn't work.
There would have been a big machine in the background. It would work. No. Rod Wilson's the thing. That was a good one. Yep.
I like the Peter David run on the Hulk.
Yeah.
Well, that's the modern classic run, I think.
I'm reading all the Hulks that I've never read before, and I'm up to 150. Man,
yeah, I read those.
It is just awful. Like how?
It's a lot if it's the same.
Every issue is Thunderbolt Ross has a new weapon to fight. It is just so bad. But yeah, I got to say the Peter David run is. I like World War Hulk, but to me. The thing about World War Hulk is it's the end of the Hulk. Like there shouldn't have been any more story. Like he's destroyed.
Yeah. I agree. It's like, after World War Hulk, and then he comes back and tries to beat up, and he literally beats up every superhero that he possibly could beat up. And then he's going to go the end of the Hulk. Yeah.
And then he's going to go back to fighting Mr. Hyde.
I don't know. Like the Hulk is kind of like Marvel Superman. It was done for younger kids. It got to be a TV show for younger kids. That wasn't really an adult TV show, even though we all watched it when we were kids. And it kind of went. That was kind of what it was. What Herb Trimpe was good at, and I don't think that really picked up until like after Trimpe left. They did a little more with Buscema, with Doc Samson, and really starting to think about like Roger Stern started writing it. Like in the 200s into 250 was a little better. It wasn't quite as
the Hulk that I'm reading, it's almost amazing that Hulk got so popular. But Hulk was he was a C-list character until the Peter David run. That's really the earliest
I don't know. I mean, when Sal Buscema was doing it with Bill Mantlo, it was pretty good. It wasn't awful. It wasn't. It wasn't
where they went into the ways, right? Like the Hulk. Dr. Strange sent Hulk into the ways.
That was at 300. That was around issue.
Yeah, okay. I for some reason I thought that was the Peter David run until
kind of like 230 to 300. Mantlo took over, and he did interesting stuff. He explained the Hulk magazine, but Hulk was Hulk. There's not much he can do. He's Hulk will smash, Hulk gets stronger. That's how it is. But Peter David's one really imbued a lot of personality, and you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, but my absolute favorite run on Marvel, the one that I have all hardcovers, trade paperbacks, individual issues, is the Frank Miller Daredevil run.
Oh, well, yeah.
Everything. I mean, that man took a C-list character that was boring, in my opinion. I know maybe some people might like the Silver Age stuff, but he was
They
boring.
did not know what to do with Daredevil. I
And
agree with
he
you.
just redefined him into a crime noir, perfect crime noir superhero. And I think that's the best that they ever did with that character under him.
I feel like Jim Shooter set it up for him. That Jim Shooter killed Kana Carmine Infantino about 6 months before. Kind of started setting up with Klaus Janson inked it for way before. So Daredevil always had a little dark tinge. But you're absolutely right. They didn't know if he was a superhero, if he was a crime fighter. He was definitely a B list, just a wise.
I think he was on the verge of cancellation.
In the 60s, he was just like a Spider-Man Jr. I mean, it was just Gene Colan did it, so it's like, oh, it's a great comic. But it wasn't Stan Lee's best,
No.
No, you're absolutely right.
Right? Was he on the verge of cancellation?
The original run had some good artists.
I'm sorry? What did you say, Tony?
I'm saying the original run had some great artists. You had Wally Wood, who designed the costume for him, and then you had Gene Colan. Beautiful long run. I love Gene Colan's artwork. Talking about Gene Colan, another one no one will remember. I love the Marv Wolfman Gene Colan Tomb of Dracula.
Oh yeah.
That's a big one. Yeah,
that's gorgeous. I have all the omnibuses. I love that run.
He loved doing that book. He kicked people off. He was going to kill for that book.
That was a great book. Great run.
He basically demanded that run, right? Yeah. He was like,
he really did demand, and he wasn't a guy to demand much either. He said it wasn't in, but he had to do that. He had to do Dracula. I mean, I had him as a teacher for years, so I kind of knew him, and he told us that. Yeah.
Yeah. Hulk had some. I like how they explain the inconsistency in the Hulk's personality by saying, it was Banner's
that was
almost like multiple personality.
That was like Bill Mantlo, that short run by Byrne on the Hulk. It always comes back to Byrne, right? Kind of set all that Peter David stuff up. Unfortunately, it was but Peter David, of course, he was after that one weird artist. He was, between Dale Keown and Gary Frank. It always looked good. It kind of petered out the end when he killed Betty. It wasn't any. That was kind of like not. That was a little self-inserted. He was having a bad divorce, so he killed Betty Ross, which is not too good. But
Hulk is becoming an interstellar emperor. I don't know. After World War Hulk, it makes sense to put him in space, make him space barbarian Conan.
Peter David had a second run. Do you remember this one on the Hulk with Lee Weeks? They did it was about 8 issues. That was a good run too.
I don't know.
It was the second run of Hulk. It was 88 to 94 or something. I think it was before World War Hulk.
I think that might have been the run. That might have been my real broke years where I was not really getting any.
Yeah, but I like Lee Weeks, so I like that Kirby Hulk. My favorite Hulk is still the Jack Kirby Hulk. And
I love the Stephen Grant, Mike Zeck Punisher. That was
that's Punisher.
And it's a shame, I mean, the Garth Ennis run. That's all the only Punisher people seem to talk about. It's but the original Punisher from the '80s, man, that thing was beautiful. Was great. That was a great run.
The original 5-issue run, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That only did 4 issues.
Supposed to be a 4-issue.
Beautiful covers. Yeah. Man, those covers were great.
They were painted to look like those dime store novels that you got in the truck stop. That the
Executioner. Yeah.
Executioner, the Destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was a good run. Avengers. What's your favorite Avengers run?
That I don't know. I'll leave that up to you.
That Jim Shooter, the same one that Rob Liefeld talks about. Did Jim Shooter run where he has the art is by either Perez, inked by Pablo Marcos, and and then John Byrne, with the Count Nefaria, almost going up to 200.
Yeah,
like I think it's like 150 to 200.
I'll say, yeah, the Jim Shooter.
The Jim Shooter read, not the second run of Jim Shooter. That was kind of weird. The first one.
The Jim Shooter run from 150 to 200 is the best Avengers in my opinion.
Avengers always had good writers and not always great artists. Like you could go back and say the Avengers Defenders War in the early 70s, but it was drawn by Bob Brown, which is okay, but it's not like George Perez, right? And then he had, until Perez came on, you just like George Tuska, like they would just they couldn't get anybody to draw the book because nobody wants to draw a team book. You made the same amount of money drawing a single hero than a team book, and a team book was twice as hard. There was no royalties, so nobody wanted to do those books. That's why it was had Don Heck or Bob Brown.
Fred loved to draw a million characters.
But George Perez and John Byrne did not care about any of that. And I'll never forget there's that one time where they were fighting Atuma, and they had Tyrax that like almost, and then Captain America just starts beating the crap out of him. I love that. Or that shot of the George Perez shot of the Submariner, flying up. Like these are things.
And the editor's remark was, "Wow, George, you outdid yourself."
Yep, no, it's absolutely right.
Because
after
that was George Perez showing off that because he almost got fired.
Yeah,
if you remember, he was doing the Sons of the Tiger in the back of Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, and everybody weirdly looked like a baby with a weird head. It wasn't that good. The backgrounds were good, but his people were off. And Marv Wolfman, the writer, was like, "We got to get rid of this guy." And
that's ironic.
And then he levels up, and now Marv Wolfman and George Perez write one of the best runs.
I was just reading the blog looking.
We all agree that Marv Wolfman, George Perez, Teen Titans is the best run.
That might be the best run in DC history, really, when you think about it, how influential it is. Modern DC history, not that older. You know what I mean? It's not as
modern DC history.
It saved DC in a lot of ways. It put DC in the modern comics equal to Marvel because now they had their own Teen Titans. Now they had their own X-Men.
I would say that title might belong to the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams Batman because he saved Batman. He saved.
That's true. Batman. That's a good argument. I don't think Batman was going to be canceled, but Detective Comics will be canceled a couple of times. A lot of times, and the TV show saved Batman, and then Neil Adams saved Batman. That's right.
Yeah.
I'll say I forgot to bring this. The Paul Levitz, Keith Giffen Legion of Superheroes run is out.
That one I never read. Now I got to read that. I've never read that book. I know about it, but I've never read it.
You got to read the Jim Shooter one leading up to it, and then he hands it off to Paul Levitz.
I know them. I read, or like in the early 70s, I read a lot of Legion, but I didn't keep reading Legion, and I didn't get any DC books then until about 1980. After Crisis, just like you.
So Avengers,
Avengers had some good runs after that. The Heroes Return run with Kurt Busiek. You say a lot of things about Kurt Busiek, but he knows how to write the Avengers.
He's one of my favorite comic writers, but he's just such a
I know. It's such a shame because I like his comics so much. And Mark Waid's the same way. I liked his comics too.
Mark Waid is a talented writer, but geez, get over yourself. What is wrong with you? Get outside? That's what you get for living in your basement 40 years. Ordering Grubhub. You turn into Mark Waid.
Well, we got a lot of that in indie comics. So,
what about the Defenders? The funny thing about the Defenders is I read every Defenders issue. It is the most bizarre, all over the place.
I had Defenders, all the comics too.
If you want to learn, if you guys want to experience drugs without the danger of taking drugs, just read the Defenders. It is the most bizarre comic ever.
The only thing I remember about the Defenders is the J.M. DeMatteis Don Perlin run.
Yeah,
I remember because they had beautiful painted covers, but the art inside always sort of disappointed me.
Don Perlin wasn't a superhero.
Yeah.
That Defenders, but that's what happens when you let Steve Gerber just do whatever he wants.
Do whatever he wants. They had the elf that killed everybody. And the weirdest thing about it was Sal Buscema, Joe superhero artist, is doing all this weird stuff for Steve Gerber. And Steve Gerber was always late, so it had to be Sal Buscema to keep that book going.
Yep.
It wasn't like there was a
Went to
weirdo
Doctor
artist,
Strange.
you know.
By far, the Doctor Strange run is Steve Ditko, Stan Lee's original run. That was by
Well,
far
Stan Lee didn't even get to finish it. Yeah.
the best.
Well, that's brilliant. Doctor Strange always had a good art. Frank Bruner and Steve Englehart.
The Frank Burner run, all of that, that was.
And they did Gene Colan took it over. It never sold, but it always had good and interesting stuff going on. Because it's weird.
I mean, X-Men. Before the John Byrne, Chris Claremont, Terry Austin.
You have to slice up the Claremont runs because you can't just say Claremont. So the best one is
you
Byrne
could
and
say
Austin.
Claremont.
How come the Byrne and Austin? The original copy you're looking at.
The Claremont. I
What
think
about the Roy Thomas, Neil Adams run?
that was a good one too. That's probably my second. That is really underrated. It's underrated because people don't know it. If people knew it, I think they'd like it a lot more.
They've reprinted it an awful lot.
But I think once John Byrne, he doesn't get enough credit because once he left, that's when the X-Men became the whiny crybabies.
Yes, you know what? You could say that because they fought so hard at each other what they wanted the X-Men to be that there were hard feelings by the time Byrne left.
But tell me, what are your thoughts on the Mark Silvestri run? I love that run of X-Men, the Outback X-Men. Oh,
I like that
run.
run. I like Mark Silvestri. It was Chris Claremont comics. I mean,
I quit and I bought that like after the fact.
You quit, when they made Magneto a hero.
I was just like, once we just want to be treated like everybody else, unless we're standing
Chris Claremont to make the bad guys the hero. 50 issues before
that's
was
what you get when you put Magneto in a purple costume.
Yes, with the big M. Yeah.
That was an awful costume too. I liked his original costume a lot better.
Okay, how about Namor? I would say the Roy Thomas, John Romita run from the 60s. That's my favorite Namor.
That original one when they first started Namor #1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when they created the Serpent Crown.
Yeah, that was reprinted in Tales to Astonish, the second Tales.
That's right. Yeah, that's really
how
good.
I knew it. I remember rushing through tests at work at school because once you finished all your work, you were allowed to read silently, and I would break out those Tales to Astonish and reread them. Him fighting Tiger Shark and Triton and
Tiger Shark. Yeah, that was terrific.
Yeah, those were so good.
The John
Lee run, but that's my favorite. What other?
Well, you could talk about Captain America, who's never really had that many good runs.
Captain America.
I grew up with the Mark Gruenwald run, and I that's the only Captain America I knew for a long time until I discovered the old Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Joe Simon, Jack Kirby stuff. But looking back on it now, man, that was really left-leaning. That was really
Gruenwald was really more left-leaning than anybody thought.
Yeah, and then the Steve Englehart stuff from the 70s where he became Nomad.
But I like that stuff because I caught those. I was when I was a little kid. But the difference between that and today is there was good story. Steve Englehart wrote a good story. It wasn't just agenda. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess.
But I like that Kirby run was underrated. Everybody made fun of it at the time, but in retrospect, that was pretty good. But it had nothing to do with the. John might be frozen. Oh, there he goes. It had nothing to do with the Marvel Universe. But the Roger Stern and John Byrne short run is probably the best. And Mike Zeck, JMD Mateus and Mike Zeck run.
Somewhere around like 200 or so. I forget the team, but they had the Hulk on the cover, and then Superman like on the biplane and everything. I mean Superman, Captain America on the biplane. So like maybe around like 225 to around 250.
Yeah, that's about right.
That was a great run. But Captain America really was the most inconsistent out of all of them.
Well, they didn't know what to do with them after Jack Kirby and Stan Lee were done. And that was just like 10, 12-page stories. So it was like boom, 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 all action. It always was action. And then when they slowed down after Kirby left, they just didn't know. They would talk about left leaning. At least Stan didn't really imbue his stuff. But I have the Marvel Essentials of that. And you have Poor Gene Colan, inked by Dick Ayers. Ugh, Dick Ayers should never have inked Gene Colan. And it's just like Gary Friedrich, and he's running to hippies all the time, and he's going around, and he's on a motorcycle, and even when John Romita helps, he's fighting the Red Skull, and the Red Skull is basically BLM, and it's like it was really, really. And they're calling the Falcons calling like Captain America honky every other panel, and his girlfriend Leela, who had the giant Pam Grier hair.
Yep.
And she was just like the most racist character you could ever come into contact. It's hilariously bad. I mean, it was exciting, but it was hilariously bad. So when like Engelhart started doing like the 50s Captain America and he fought the Yellow Claw, that was like, oh my God, that's regular Captain America. We got rid of all this urban stuff that was held with the Falcon. And that's why that worked out. It worked out until Frank Robbins killed it. And then
I forgot about Leela, Sam's girlfriend.
Oh my God! I just remember
big hair. She always had her fists on her hip, teaching you a lesson.
Yeah, she was bad. It was so black exploitation was so bad, and like that's early DEI, right? To have here's Falcon, Captain America's buddy, and he automatically gets underbilling when Captain America's the comic becomes Captain America and the Falcon. Wait, what? You don't think that DEI wasn't around back then? This all started in like 1968.
But the princess
rights was passed. This all started. So it's just more, so it's just more intense.
I just remembered a great Marvel run. I don't know if you guys probably heard about it, but not too many people talk about it. Squadron Supreme, 12 issues, Mark Gruenwald. Great, one of the greatest superhero stories ever told.
I reread it.
I love that run.
It was a response to the Watchmen, if you ask me.
No, yes. It was before the Watchmen.
It was before the Watchmen. Shows you how my memories play.
Better than the Watchmen, in my opinion.
It's before the Watchmen. You know why it doesn't get the legendary status of the Watchmen? Mark Gruenwald's not British, and it was the art. While very good Marvel Comics art by Paul Ryan and then fill-in artists, John Buscema, Bob Layton, and stuff. It didn't have Dave Gibbons, that consistent artwork of Dave Gibbons for 12 issues. And so if people don't think of it like the Watchmen, but it was just as powerful and had
it wasn't as intricately convoluted as the Watchmen was.
No,
so it was a very easy read. You could pick it up and get into it like that,
I'll say this,
it was like 2 years before the Watchmen.
It was more like they obviously loved superheroes and didn't try,
No, they weren't deconstructing it. It was just kind of like it would like that would be in your world. What would really happen? The superheroes would try to take over and try to do the good thing and run the world, and that wasn't the good thing, and I always
had a problem with the Squadron Supreme characters being in Marvel Universe. You know what I mean? Like Hyperion.
Well, that was on there, yeah. But I don't know. They weren't really in the Marvel. They always brought them over, but from the other worlds,
that was in the Defenders.
That's true. The Roy Thomas, John Buscema Avengers was good too. When he kicked the heck off for Buscema, and then Buscema did it for years, and it was really good.
I'm trying to think of
the original Vision was in that, and then there's a couple issues by they introduced Adamantium with Barry Smith did those, yeah. But I think Captain America, the least amount of good runs of all his. I mean, even Daredevil and Captain America, and then they got Zach and Miller, Mike Zeck and JMT Timaeus, and they got better, The Gruenwald was just on Captain America too long, I think. He wrote it for years and years and years.
So what do you guys want to do for next week? We've been talking for an hour and a half.
The idea you played Rogues Galleries.
Rogues Galleries?
That was a good one.
You guys, we got like 70 people watching. You guys want to do Rogues Galleries for next week?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good one. Even if we did it before, it's still a good one to bring up. So we'll do Rogues.
This is a dangerous topic because we could talk about comic runs with our memories.
Right.
I didn't look anything up.
The only reason I'm stopping is I'm tired.
5 hours.
Yeah.
Well, it's like 1:30 in the morning. So,
yeah, so guys, thank you for dealing with this time change. I don't like it either. It's killing my channel because I could either stream at midnight or noon, and and it's just
I
killing
was
them.
thinking about that, and I'm like, I miss your talks because I never know when they are, and they're also like when I'm working. I don't watch anything now. I'm driving at noon a lot of the time.
Where's Marcus? Where's Marcus as my moderator?
I'm so sorry. I'll try to come back.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't crash. I
didn't know you
right,
talked to Nick,
crash.
that guy Nick. I said, wait, he streamed? Wait, what?
I was driving home and I got a couple of links to be on other people's channels. Like, I'm driving. They're like, no, we know about you and driving. Just stay on the road. Stay on the road.
You can't drive it. Like, I do too much of that as it is. I gotta cut back on moderating. It's a pain in the ass. But
Marvel DC.
Yeah, it's hard to. I have to pay attention.
Company, like
the only way to save your channel is to do stuff you don't have time for, which is make video, like 10-minute videos talking about stuff.
I always say that I'm going to do that again.
But you got to edit that. If you're not good at editing, that's a big pain in the neck.
I just had one pop into my head that I would recommend for you, John, if you haven't heard of it. The Jamie Delano Night Raven. It started off with Alan Moore. Alan Moore was with it for about 6 issues, and then he handed it off to Jamie Delano. Marvel UK run. Great. Alan Davis art. Really good.
I don't know this from.
It's like a British version of The Shadow. But he has Night Raven. Mm-hmm.
I'll check that out. But anything you want to say, Marcus, before we go?
I'm on the studio tomorrow. There'll be Joe Sontag and Hojo. I'm not crazy when it's double booked because I never know. You draw one guy's characters and you're leaving the other guy out. It's not good, but
yeah,
that's how it is. We'll see how. But we've drawn both these guys' characters.
People, how can you get the studio?
You can get Saturdays at 7 at Don Draw's channel.
Yeah, go to Don Draw's. Joe Sontag is awesome. Hojo's a good guy.
Really nice. Joe Sontag is a really nice guy.
Yeah. And Tony, anything you want to say?
Buy Heroic Tales, everyone. Buy Heroic Tales. Buy it.
2 is at the printer right now. I'm hoping to get the proofs any day now. I didn't get
terrific.
I didn't get the message that they've been shipped yet, but they're being printed. So
nice.
There's no mistake. Last time there was a page without word balloons. I was like, oh God. The page where the patriarch flew up to the meteor had no word balloons. And it didn't really change the story. I could have let it go. But the storytelling was so good, you understood what he was doing, but I had to get it fixed. That delayed me for like 2 or 3 weeks. But there you go. Comics.
Right, thank you. Thanks again. It's always fun.
They print in the United States. If you got your poop together, if you got your files together, you send them the files, you could have your comics in like 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Provided there's no mistake. I don't understand why people are going to China and then subjecting themselves to tariffs and delays.
No, I think less people got to be doing that now. Right?
It must be a penny a comic or something like that.
Who goes to? I don't know who goes to China off the top of my head, but they must.
I don't understand.
A lot of guys use Jostin, but you know what happens with Jostin is they don't just do comics. They do like all sorts of like school yearbooks and all that, and then they get backed up. I know there's a certain quality to the look that they want. I know that they use that, and then it's Critical Blast. And
I hope to be successful enough to use Critical Blast. Like I'm going to fulfill all my. I enjoyed the fulfilling. It's fun.
There's no point for you, even if you did more. You like the fulfilling.
And next weekend, I'm probably going to go to Billy Tucci's house and help him fulfill comics for the weekend.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's like, John, you want to help? Beer, pretzels. I was like, you had me at beer and pretzels.
There you go.
Beer, pretzels, soda. That's it. Oh, I got to work. That's fine. That's fine. And Billy knows a good pizzeria. I can't find a good pizzeria by me.
Oh yeah, well,
Billy's been here for 1 year. He's got to know a good pizzeria. So, but anyway, I'm gonna go, guys. Thanks a lot.
Bye, guys.
Sunday, I'm gonna do for Sunday comics. I'm gonna do Horace H. Hoover #1.
I saw that. Yeah,
because Gail Simone has been commenting. She watches my Sunday comics. So I said, "Did you see that in the chat?" So I'm trying to get her to check out Fabio Fabrizio's
we should change his name to Fabio.
And I message her all the time. Come on my channel. Let's talk, Gail. How bizarre is that Gail just messages me out of nowhere? But
it is bizarre.
It is bizarre. The world is a bizarre place. It's complicated.
It is complicated.
Thanks a lot, everybody. And I don't know if I'm going to stream tomorrow. I might. You know, I might have to because Saturdays nobody streams. It's the Wild West on Saturdays. But
too many people stream on Wednesday nights. It's actually relief that you don't stream in a way to me, because it's so many places that I have to be. But I'd rather have you stream.
Goodbye, kids.
Good night. I'll talk.